Welcome to Grand Slam Sports. I'm Charles Foster, joined here with Jackson Strasburger. No Jace Hodge today. He is traveling for basketball. We got a little bit of a special episode today, a little trade deadline special here at Grand Slam Sports, but we're going to start with football with the Super Bowl being this weekend, and we're going to start with the Super Bowl. Jackson, I'm going to look over to you. MVP predictions as we start off for this season.
For the Super Bowl, I feel like it's going to be the winning team. We already said the Seattle Seahawks are probably going to win. So then you have to look at who's going to get them there. JSN, Jackson Smith-Njigba. I think he is the best player on this Seahawks team, on this Seahawks offense. He's the reason he won Offensive Rookie of the Year, which we'll get to in a second, but he's just been a dominant player, and the reason the Seahawks offense has been this good.
And we take a look at, how easy you could say it's a quarterback award a lot of the time, but not in these games. I could say Sam Darnold. That's the easy answer, but that's boring. I'm not going to say Sam Darnold. My prediction is actually going to be Kenneth Walker. I think Kenneth Walker is going to have a very good game this game, and I think, depending on if Charbonnet takes his touchdowns like he ends up doing all the time, I think K9 is going to come in, take the MVP prediction. But that is, like we said, bearing if the Seattle Seahawks actually win this game, and they're going to really be falling on their defense. And I've had a question that I've heard, and Malcolm Jenkins went on in the Pro Bowl and said that this team has potential to be the next Legion of Boom. I ask you, is the Seahawks defense actually have that potential, or are we just shutting that down year one?
They're good. Don't get me wrong. They're top 10 in most statistical categories, usually in that 6-7 range, but then sometimes they'll get in that top 5. But they are not as dominant as Legion of Boom was. I mean, that is talked about as one of the best defenses ever compared to the 2000 Ravens. They're not that. They are not close to that.
I think there's a potential that conversation can happen. I think you have a very young defense. You have a defense that is built full of people that aren't necessarily, stars. I mean, this is a team that doesn't have like a top 10 defender on it whenever you take a look at it. But they built a cornerback core that I think is rivaled to the Legion of Boom, at least cornerbacks wise. It's really can that back half of the secondary, hit that level. We have Imawari, who might not end up playing because he got hurt. The curse continues. The Patriots continue to curse their teams. But, we take a look. This is a team that has that potential. Bringing in Julian Love from the Giants, bringing in Leonard Williams on the front. I mean, this is a team that, on paper, could do it. So I'm not going to shut it down yet. I'm not going to sit here and say that the Legion of Boom is impossible. They're in year one. A lot of these players are under the age of 25. I'm going to say maybe. I'm not going to say that they're going to be it, but I think there's a very decent argument that if this team continues this dominance for the next 2-3 years, and the NFC that's pretty wide open, we could be having that conversation about potential Legion of Boom.
I see a world where they get to that level, but I just don't see it happening. I think there's so many question marks with the Legion of Boom when they signed people like you have Earl Thomas, and then you have people like Richard Sherman, who you drafted and then signed, built them up, and built this great team defensively. I think that just is different than where the Seahawks are right now.
Yeah. It's a hard question. I think it's going to be one of those things like what we talked about with the Bulls team whenever the Warriors were going crazy. Are the Warriors finally going to do it? We never really said they were going to do it until they did it. So, I think until this actually becomes a dominant defense for multiple years to come, that will be whenever we can actually make that argument. But now I come to you, and I kind of know where you're going to go with this because we kind of talked about it. But lock it in right now, your final prediction for the Super Bowl. Who's taking it home?
I think the Seahawks dominate. I think the Seahawks take it by 14 points, 2 scores. So give me the Seahawks by 2 scores.
I have the Seahawks in a closer game. It's hard for me to say the Seahawks, but I do have the Seahawks here. Actually, it's not hard. I don't like the Patriots at all. But I have them saying in this one. But I ask you, in order for the Patriots to win, what do they need to do? What's that one X factor to actually take them over a betting favorite in the Seahawks?
I think they need a triple team JSN every single possession. I think they need to rush everybody else at Kenneth Walker, and I think they need to pray. And that's I think all they got.
One of those games where you need to get on your hands and knees and pray to whatever God you believe in if you are the Patriots, because it's going to be a hard one. It's definitely going to be a very hard matchup for them, but I'm excited to see it. And speaking of JSN, NFL honors were last night, and we saw a lot of people awarded, including the MVP and Offensive Player of the Year, Jackson Smith-Njigba. I ask you, any snubs on this list that we're looking at here?
I think mostly the awards were done very well. Even the one I'm going to complain about, I'm not mad that JSN got Offensive Player of the Year. I think he was second. But Bijan Robinson, without him, the Falcons are not nearly as good as they are. They were competing for a playoff spot till that very last week. He has 1,400 rushing yards with, 7 touchdowns. He had 820 receiving yards. He did it both from the backfield and in the air. The reason the Falcons' offense was watchable. So I take Bijan Robinson over JSN this year.
See, me and you, we are employed because of the fact that we get to complain and complain well, right? And this is one of the few times that I'm looking at a piece of paper right here and something that the NFL or a higher league does, and I have nothing to complain about. I think this is a very, very perfect MVP honors thing. There's going to be the conversation of, does Drake May deserve MVP? And yes, he does deserve MVP in a year that Matt Stafford's not having this year. Matt Stafford had more touchdowns and more yards on the same amount of interceptions. He played a harder schedule, which people are going to say, oh, that doesn't matter. It does matter. Whenever you're beating good teams while still doing better numbers than a guy that's on a cupcake run, I mean, it's hard to put someone above you. So as much as I like the fact that Drake May, he deserved an MVP. He had a phenomenal season, and he will get one someday. I truly believe it, as much as it hurts to say, just not this year. This was Matt Stafford's award. He joins elite company with some of the best quarterbacks ever, and Matt Stafford, dare I say it, is a future Hall of Famer, and I think that this might have just solidified it right here.
I think absolutely he was a Hall of Famer. I think he could have been a Hall of Famer before he left Detroit. He was just that dominant with a struggling team. I mean, his best wide receiver after Calvin Johnson was Golden Tate, maybe?
Yeah.
And then he goes to the Rams. He wins a Super Bowl with his first actual team, and then he wins an MVP. I did see somebody saying that Herbert got one first place MVP vote, and if that goes towards Drake May, he does win it. I still don't think it matters. I still think Stafford was better than May. I do think he played harder competition in one of the hardest divisions, too. The Niners were very good this year. The Seahawks were very good this year. The Cardinals were not very good this year. But the Rams, I mean, they played those. That's 4 games of the season were harder than most of the games the Patriots played all year.
And Matt Stafford, mind you, is one of the few quarterbacks to do it and to win an MVP without winning his division. So that is, already, like you mentioned, just to talk about that competition. He is an MVP level quarterback that did not win his division because of how good it was. I mean, you have one of the Super Bowl teams in your division. You have another borderline playoff team in the Niners in that division. And the Cardinals are no scrubs either. I mean, they're not amazing, but they put together 5-win seasons every once in a while. So, I mean, hey, it's not a cakewalk like if you have the Jets on your schedule. So, we take a look at the rest of this. We see Myles Garrett, very deserving. He was unanimously first place. All votes went to him. We see Ted McMillan, not very big competition. He ends up winning it there offensively. Hey, Tyler Shough, though, second place. You take that.
Yeah, no, he had a great year with, again, another struggling team. I think that kind of makes him seem a little better. But, again, it was also against the NFC South, which was not a strong division.
Yeah, so a very good NFL honors. We have a lot to look forward in the Super Bowl, which means we have just one less probably NFL segment until we get to draft season. So a little bit sad, but NFL season coming to a wrap this Sunday for the Super Bowl. We're going to talk about some basketball next here on Grand Slam Sports. 22 straight minutes of NBA talk. We don't get to say that very often, but this deadline we thought would be one of the more not entertaining ones. Was everyone's moving. I mean, the NBA was ruthless. They were going to throw you off the plane if you were in moving. And we're going to talk about one of the more ruthless trades as we look at the Cavs. I mean, the Cavs, they made some very interesting moves. Jackson, Cavs, they kind of have a 2-year window now with James Harden and the fact that they picked up an older player that's on a 2-year contract. Do they end up actually competing in this 2-year window?
I feel like this is the year to do it. You don't have the Pacers and Halliburton. You don't have the Celtics and Tatum until maybe the playoffs, and that's still a question mark. So now this is your year to win the East. I mean, they have the players. They have the ability, the talent. Now, can they just hold it? Can they do it? I don't know how much I like this trade, getting Harden, another ball-dominant guard, who's going to now have to learn how to pass first to Donovan Mitchell. But I do think they'll figure it out. They'll end up in a good spot.
I like this trade, I think. It's a very confusing situation here because James Harden, I think, can be that pass first guard. He was like the one positive note that I had from that Brooklyn team. Like, I thought that all 3 of those players would not be able to mesh well, and James Harden actually did a pretty good job at meshing with another star. So I don't hate it. I don't like the other half of the trades that they made, though, of trading DeAndre Hunter. I thought that he is a 3-and-D wing that really builds championship winning. And bringing in Keon Ellis, I'm a big Keon Ellis fan, but it's just another guard that you just need to try and find a way to get the ball to. I looked at these trades, and when I was making my lists and talking through all this stuff, my analysis was, don't know. I don't know. I don't know how I feel because this is one of the few where there is no winner or loser. Time will tell. If the Cavs go on and win, they won. If they go on and lose, this trade could blow up in their face and it could be horrible. So, I mean, it's going to be really time will tell on if this is actually a good move or not. But we take a look at the Cavs. Are they your clear-cut number one in the East, or is there another team in the East that you think is a little bit more?
Right now, I think I still take the Cavs. I don't love getting rid of DeAndre Hunter. I think if you go all in and get James Harden for a guy who's not going to play, you keep Daniel Hunter on that team. He can still help with that dominant factor, being that defensive wing that now you're kind of missing. But I still think that the East is weak. The East is bad. It's bad. And I think the Cavs clearly are the best team still in the East.
I think the Knicks are the best team in the East. I think they're just a little bit better. But I think the Cavs now have jumped themselves up. I still think the Celtics are a threat somehow. And this is coming, I'm a Celtics fan. I know people are going to say, oh, biased, but they're a top 3 team right now in the East. Jaylen Brown's a top 3 in MVP, and this team has actually looked, I don't think they're better than the Cavs, but they're going to put up a fight. They're not going to roll over. The Pistons are another team that I would take over the Cavs as well. Cavs, I like the move, but I don't think it really makes that much of a jump. You trade a non-playoff performer for another non-playoff performer. You're not going to get much better other than maybe an extra few points per game and a few more games on the floor. So it'll be interesting. If it works out, it'll work out well. As we take a look now at the Jazz doing a real head scratcher here as the Jazz bring in Jaren Jackson Jr.
This team, the last thing they needed was a big. Another last thing they needed was a player. I think they go the pick route. I think they're not going to win anything this year. And yes, Jaren Jackson Jr. does have multiple years of control. I believe 4 more years of control until he becomes a free agent. So if you think your window and you're going to be good in the next 4 years, not a bad move. I don't think this team's going to be good in the next 4 years. I thought they would have gone the other way in trading a Lauri Markkanen away, trading some of their younger talents for picks so they can build in the next 5 years where I think they might have a chance. But I just don't think it makes much sense as a Jazz.
I was very much so on the anti-Jazz list, and I'm still kind of on there, but I saw someone that made a decent point, and they mentioned saying that the Jazz basically traded for Jaren Jackson Jr. to give the Grizzlies a chance to draft a player like Jaren Jackson Jr. And that does make a lot of sense if you think about it. Like, the Jazz basically skipped the what-if process and got a guy that they wanted. The only issue I'm really seeing is the fact that one of my biggest gripes has been Lauri Markkanen as a 3. He's a 7-footer. He's been playing the 3. It's just weird. It doesn't work as well. They tried it with John Collins. It didn't work. I don't really like it, but I like them getting Jaren Jackson. Like, I don't hate the move, but it just, the fit isn't there yet. Maybe if there's something that they have going on later, maybe in the offseason, whenever this team is making those moves, because Keontae George has actually made himself a good point guard. Like, he's a genuine one option here. And then you have Walker Kessler, who's like another guy I'm a fan of. I don't hate the move. I think the move actually has a chance to make them somewhat compete in the West. The Western Conference, that is very, very hard to get in. But I think that Lauri needs to go, or you're just going to have another situation with John Collins where you have 3 bigs that just kind of, they don't clog up the floor, but they do it in a weird way. Now, the interesting part is, Triple J is not a good rebounder. That's always been his biggest gripe. You have 2 7-footers now on your team, and Jaren Jackson Jr. doesn't have to rebound as much anymore. His one problem kind of goes out the window. So that is the positive that I'm excited to see. I've said it multiple times where I think that things won't work and they end up working. So I want to be proven wrong. I like Utah. I like this team. I want to be proven wrong. I want this to work out for them.
Yeah, and on the other side, the Memphis side, I think this is what they needed to do. A team that just, it looked so good on paper, just didn't work. I feel like John Morant's going to be gone in this offseason as well. Surprised he didn't go then this past week, but I think they are going in the right direction. They realize this team isn't working. They need to blow it up and restart, and I think they started perfectly by getting rid of Triple J.
I agree. I'm surprised Ja didn't go, but I think a lot of it is how bad the market is for Ja. It's just not a very good market. We saw with Trae Young. Trae Young went to the Wizards because of how bad that point guard market is, and now Trae Young, Wizards. The Wizards are cooking something. I am at a loss for words. The Wizards are competing or trying to compete. They trade for Trae Young. They trade for Anthony Davis, one of the most potentially volatile duos in this league. And I say volatile very intentionally because AD steps on the court wrong and he's out for the season. But when he's on the floor, he's one of the best bigs there is. Trae Young, unrivaled scorer. There's not a lot that can do it like he can. And you have Alex Sarr, you have all this young talent. Jackson, what do you feel about this?
I'm not the biggest Trae Young fan. I've never have been, but I think this fits perfectly with him. He probably won't play for most of the year. He hasn't really played yet in Washington. Anthony Davis I'm pretty sure he's out for the year, and he's pretty much claimed that he's not going to play. And you have Alex Sarr, and you're going to get a high draft pick because this team's not winning games. So now you're going to have a big four, depending on who you get drafted. This draft class is phenomenal, so you'll get somebody who'll definitely get minutes. I think this is perfect. I think they're building for the future. They know this isn't the year, but they know next year easily can be a year, especially in a weak East. We keep talking about it, where they can make the playoffs and they can make a playoff push.
I absolutely love this move. And my biggest critique was the fact that it could blow up in their face. But then I remember thinking, I was like, it's the Wizards. If it blows up in the face, whoop-de-doo, they haven't been good in 10 years. I mean, this is the first time that I've actually looked at this team and been like, they can do something. Yeah. They really can. And they got Anthony Davis without giving up any of the players that I thought they would. No Keyshawn George gone. Bub Carrington's still on the team. Alex Sarr's still on the team. Champagne's still on the team. They keep all of their good talent while getting in even better talent, bringing in Trae Young as well for those pieces. I love this move for Washington, but you know who I hated for? The Dallas Mavericks. Dallas Mavericks essentially just traded Luka Doncic for Chris Middleton and a bag of hot Cheetos. I don't understand.
Max Christie. Don't forget Max Christie.
Oh, and Max Christie, who does play. I don't understand. I don't understand what went wrong in Dallas.
I don't either. I mean, you have Cooper Flagg. Now you have a team to build around. You have Anthony Davis, who can help build around Cooper Flagg. I feel like they are two different play styles that work well on the court together. Kyrie Irving, who's aging, yes, but a good placeholder for now. And now you no longer have Anthony Davis. Now Cooper Flagg is basically by himself. I just don't love this for the Mavs at all. I haven't loved any of their trades recently.
The Mavs had the excuse of it being Nico Harrison, but then Nico Harrison's gone, and they still make this trade. So, not an amazing move there. I'm not very happy if I would be a Dallas fan. In fact, if I was a Dallas fan, you would not see me ever outside, like at all. Like I would just sit in my bedroom and cry listening to Marvin's Room. But now let's take a look at the Celtics. Our Celtics, we're both Celtics fans. So they bring in a center. Whoop-de-doo. I'm so happy they finally bring in a center. But it's Nikola Vucevic. I don't know how I feel about it. Jackson, you were pretty happy about it, though. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I think Vucevic just fits with this team perfectly. I think the offensive scoring, it'll definitely go down as he was a first option in Chicago. But I feel like the rebounding was well. The scoring is still there, and what they've been missing, well, it wasn't a concern since they weren't supposed to be good. Jaylen Brown was going to take the lead of this team, and he's done it. I mean, great. Jason Tatum wasn't supposed to play, and now he might. And now we're sitting here talking about this team can go on a playoff run if they get there and could be the NBA champions. And now they're like, okay, what moves do we need to make? Yeah. Anthony's not going to help this team when Jason Tatum comes back. But what they need is a new center. They filled that hole perfectly. And now I think the Celtics team might be a favorite once it comes playoff time.
Yeah, and I don't think Tatum's going to play. Honestly, I don't want Tatum to play. I want JB to get his chance to really shine and actually prove himself as a 1 or 2 option because deserve that top money, dude. I'm happy for JB. And I'm happy about the Vooch move. It is an improvement. I think they could have done better. That's what and this is me complaining for the sake of complaining. I want it to be known before I go on my tangent that I think this is a good move and they fill a hole. However, they traded a few of their lower talents. They traded Josh Minott. They traded Xavier Tillman. They traded a lot of their younger players to make more room and then didn't fill any of the room that they traded. And then they also traded Anthony Simons as well in order to get Nikola Vucevic. I feel like a lot of those pieces and maybe a pick could have been used to actually go aggressively for Zubac or go aggressively for Claxton or another center that is more in the timetable. Because the biggest thing that I see is that Vooch is not in their timetable. Vooch is more of a, he's more of a rental. He's in his 30s. He's not going to go in and, be the future of this team. They had a chance to really bring in, with a center market that's been so powerful, to really bring in a guy that could sit there and be on the team for years to come. That's my biggest complaint, but I think that's me being more nitpicky, me being like, maybe that isn't how the market goes. Maybe the market isn't amazing for centers as we thought it was. So I think the biggest thing is they did what they needed to do. They got probably the worst option available, but it's a pretty good option. Like, I'm not complaining. I just think it could have been better.
I definitely think it's an upgrade from what they had.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing is that they had no center.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like nobody was down low, and now you have an actual true big to play that center spot.
And we take a look at their starting lineup. This new starting lineup of what I have predicted at least: Derek White at point guard, Jaylen Brown at the 2, Sam Hauser at the 3, and at power forward, Luka Garza, who's actually been playing very good this week, and Nikola Vucevic. So a better team, a playoff team. We're going to talk about some more NBA next on Grand Slam Sports. Just like the trade deadline, we never stop talking about basketball. Porzingis to the Warriors. Jackson, you had some mixed reviews about this one, and so did I. So what's going on?
Yeah, the Warriors wanted to get rid of Kuminga. They did that. But they also got rid of Buddy Hield, which I don't love, and you get Porzingis, who this West team, I don't know if they're going to win. Or this Wizards team, I don't know if they're... Warriors team, wow.
You can do it.
Is going to win in the West with Porzingis, with anybody. And I think, again, going with that draft picks route, you don't need a player, especially a Porzingis who is aging. He's not young. He's not going to be on this team in 5 years, most likely, since he hasn't been on any team for 5 years, it feels like. And I just don't think this fits well with the Warriors. Curry will be gone soon. I think it's time to start looking at a rebuild.
I think that this right here is desperation for the Warriors. Steph Curry, one of the best point guard of all time, I stand by that, has not as many years as we would like. He's on the darker side of 30. And as we take a look at this team, this is a team that is trying to compete with Steph Curry. And so they've done everything they can. By bringing in Porzingis, that is a good move. That's how you compete with him until Jimmy Butler isn't there. So now you're still kind of just have another year. You're basically saying you're going to borderline throw it away. And whenever Butler comes back, you have one less year to do that. I don't hate the move. You needed to get rid of Jonathan Kuminga. You got rid of Jonathan Kuminga. Like you said, he was a player that they needed to get rid of. No one wanted his contract. The Hawks took it. This is a good move for the Hawks. It's a fine move for the Warriors. They did what they needed to do. I don't hate it. I actually kind of like the move.
I don't hate it either. I just don't love it. I don't think it makes a lot of sense. When I saw this, I was confused. And then I saw who they gave up. And that kind of makes sense because Steve Kerr hates
Jonathan
Kuminga. And, I mean, it just doesn't make sense in a fact that this team's not going to be good in 2 years.
Yeah,
to me, I don't think in a couple of years this team's going to be as dominant as they once were. They had their dynasty, and it was fun while it lasted, but now it's over, and I don't know if the front office has learned that.
Every single time there's a trade or a top player in the trades, the Warriors are there because they're trying so hard. What I would have done, Kuminga doesn't need to leave this year, okay? He doesn't. I mean, you can hold on to him for the rest of the year. He signed a contract with you. I don't care if he wants out. You signed a contract with us. You got to stay for the rest of the year at least, right? You could keep him for that year, then go talk to Giannis. Because Kuminga could have been a frontline package of that Giannis trade because he has potential. He has all the potential in the world. So I think that's kind of where I would have gone. I would have kept it for the year because you're not going to compete anyway. Jimmy Butler's out for the year. So that's kind of the route I would have gone. But like we said, maybe that's something we didn't know about. The Bucks are confusing. They're like, we have Giannis, but then they don't want to trade him. So we don't know what's going on in Milwaukee. They've been having me scratching my head literally this entire season. So we take a look now, Pacers. We don't talk a lot about the Pacers on this show, but we get to today, Ivica Zubac, the new starting center. And this one is an interesting one. Jackson?
I like it. I think this just makes the most amount of sense. They go and get a center. They're not going to be good. They're not going to be great this year and without Halliburton. But next year, I think this is a scary pick and roll matchup between Halliburton and Zubac. I think this is dangerous. They get a real center. Jay Huff his backwards ducks were not doing it. And now I think this is the right move for the future. But it's that draft pick. You need to be a top 4 draft pick. You need to be terrible for the rest of this year if it's really worth it.
This trade, I'm losing sleep over this trade because I don't know what to think. I don't, because they are holding a bomb in their hand. Not even a bomb, like a nuke that has an opportunity to completely explode in their face. I mean, this has a chance to completely ruin the trajectory of the Pacers franchise for years to come. Or it can bring them right back to the finals and completely bring them up on the list. This is why I am so concerned about this trade, because I don't know what to think. Because if they end up getting a top 4 pick, this team is going back to the finals. I mean, this team's phenomenal. If they lose their first-round pick in one of the best drafts ever, the one time that the Pacers are actually bad, this is one of the worst trades we've ever seen. It's going to be horrible. I mean, there is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. a high bar and there's a very low bar. And I think that is where time will tell with this trade. I can't give it a positive grade. I can't give it a negative grade on the on the Pacers side of things because, quite frankly, I don't know. I really don't know where to go with it. I think Zubac, if we're looking at next year, Zubac is exactly what this Pacers team needed. I've been begging the Pacers. I've gone to way too many Pacers games to support Jace on his, trying to have them win some games. And just, I've literally said every single game, they need a center. They need a center. They need a center. They need a center. And they refuse to get a center since Roy Hibbert. They bring in a real center. In my opinion, a top 7 center in the league. They finally do it. Time will tell if it was actually worth it, though, because they gave up a lot for it.
And you look at Zubac, he's averaging a double a night. He's playing fantastic. He's going to get extra wins for the Pacers. Will that take him out of that top 4, especially in a draft class like this? But, Charles, you have the Foster 5 of winners and losers in this draft.
Yes, I do, Jackson. And this week's Foster 5 is looking a little bit different. I have my top 5 winners for the NBA trade deadline. We're going to start off here with the Cleveland Cavaliers. This was a team that I put for purely because I had to. I had to pick 5 teams. It's the name of the game. I don't necessarily fully like their deadline. It's one of the only teams that I'm not like 100% sold on. But someone had to go at number 5. The Cavs at least made one positive move. The Cavs are my number 5. Looking at number 4, this is where I actually get to teams that I actually like. The Chicago Bulls. This is finally the year that the Bulls actually go all in on rebuilding. The Bulls have had this problem with not wanting to give up. They give up Kobe White. They give up Ayo Dosunmu. They bring in Rob Dillingham and bring in a lot of young talent to finally actually build a roster around some of these young guys. They have a lot of guards, but the Bulls looking in the right direction, looking like they're finally going to make the move at sucking, which is what we've wanted them to do for a while. Looking in at number 3 are the Memphis Grizzlies. This is a team that has gotten more first-round picks for their second and third best players than the Mavericks got for theirs. And we now look at this team. They got 7 first-round picks this year. They are looking amazing. They have built a team that is going to be pretty bad for the next few years, but there is a future there in Memphis, which you could not say just a week ago. At number 2, this one was hard for me to do. I debated this for a while. The Wizards go to number 2. They compete now. They look competent now, and they have an opportunity to make the playoffs in a very weak East. I love the moves that they made. Trae Young, Anthony Davis, while keeping all of their young stars, a very good segment for them. Look at number 1. I have the Los Angeles Clippers. I love what they did. You asked me last month how I feel about the Clippers. I think they were the team with the worst future in the league. Their average age was 27 years old. They were not looking very good. Now this team has a young star in Darius Garland. They have multiple picks. They have Benedict Mathurin, and they have a team that could be good in just a few years. The Clippers no longer at the bottom of the list. They jumped up probably to a middle-tier team in the future, and I think that right there is absolutely perfect for this team.
Yeah, I like a lot of those things, Charles. One thing I really disagree with the most, I think the Clippers should be a little lower on this list. Every team on this list I think should be on there. I think the Wizards should be number 1. I think the Clippers probably should be in that 3 to 4 range as the Bulls have moved up too. I think getting rid of a lot of their pieces has just been fantastic and a great move for the Bulls.
Yeah, and looking at those teams, and I do appreciate you liking the list, but yeah, we look at this. The Clippers were a hard one for me to put number 1 because they're not going to be competing like the Wizards have a chance to do, but they had the biggest jump, and that's why I put them at number 1. But yes, the Wizards are definitely one of those teams I think has the potential to be the best on this list, depending on how things go. If out of these 5 teams, what's a team on that list that you think should have been on there?
That should have been on there? I mean, I think I don't have anybody coming off the list, really. I think the Grizzlies getting most of their picks, I think that was a great idea. I think the Wizards building up, the Bulls trading down and eventually starting their rebuild. They got rid of Ball. They got rid of Ayo. They got rid of everybody on that team that was good. And now they'll go be successful somewhere else, and now they have kind of a younger core with picks. I believe Colin Sexton, and just some smaller pieces that can help build them up.
Yeah, I'm very happy with the way that a lot of these teams attack the deadline. I don't think there's any real big losers. I was looking at what potential losers lists I could make, and most of them would just be players that were losing because they just weren't able to get out in time. So this was a very good deadline and a very long deadline. My phone was blowing up this week, Jackson, and it has been a heck of an NBA season so far. It's been very entertaining. With March rolling around the corner, we're going to have a lot of basketball to talk about.
Absolutely, and this March Madness season has been, or so far this college basketball season has been fun. The best draft class we've seen since LeBron and D Wade, maybe.
Ooh, that's a high bar to see, and we're gonna find out. But that's gonna be all for today in Grand Slam Sports. I'm Charles Foster with Jackson Strasburger, telling you to have a good night.